since my sophomore years in college. I hardly saw Mark anymore. Mark and I were in the same dormitory during his freshman year. Mark was no different from the most ordinary college boys. He would sleep until 7:45 in the morning. When the alarm clock rang, he would jump up in a start, leap out of bed, go to the toilet to pee, wash up in 3 minutes, and get dressed, grab his bag, and head to the classroom. On the way, he would buy a wrapped pancake. He would play with his phone, chewing on the pancakes while listening to the class. After class, he would go to the cafeteria to buy food, and return to the dormitory. As soon as he entered the room, he would turn on the computer and play until midnight. On the day of the start of the sophomore year, only 4 of us returned to the dormitory. We sent a message to Mark. Mark, are you coming back to school? After a few hours, Mark replied, there's something going on at home. I've asked for leave. When he came back, he was very different. His appearance didn't change much, but his exhaustion and haggardness were obvious at a glance. We asked Mark what happened. He said his father had a minor accident. An accident to a roommate's father wouldn't have a big impact on our lives. We still ate, slept, some of us dated, and some played games as usual. However, Mark stopped playing games. Not only did he stop playing games, but Mark also seldom attended classes. Mark almost disappeared from our college life. Later he came in order, take her at the KFC store in airport. Every morning when I lazily opened my eyes, the bed beside my feet was already empty. Sometimes it was very late at night. Sometimes I was already asleep, and sometimes I was lying in bed reading. Then the dormitory door would creak open, and a strong smell of fried chicken and french fries would rush into my nostrils. Mark became the man I've ever seen who could undress the fastest. In just 2 minutes, Mark could go from the state of just entering the room to getting undressed and getting into bed, and in another 30 seconds, his thunderous snoring would start. When he returned to the dormitory, he didn't wash his face or brush his teeth. Mark, with the smell of fast food from KFC, would fall asleep deeply like a piece of original recipe chicken until he got up early the next morning. Mark's habit of getting up early only lasted for 1 semester. Then he became the one who got up the latest in the dormitory. When I got up to go to class in the morning, he was still sound asleep in bed. When I came back from class at noon, I could hear his deafening snoring even before opening the door. We lived in the same dormitory, but there was only a few words of communication in the evening. Mark, are you going to work? I asked, holding my running shoes. Mark put on his work clothes with one hand and stuffed a wrapped pancake into his mouth with the other, chewing vigorously. Mark became the designated night shift order, taker at the KFC store in airport. Later, I learned that KFC doesn't allow employees to work consecutive night shifts, but Mark had a way. Whoever was scheduled for the night shifts, he would swap with them. More money for night shifts, Mark said. One day, Mark borrowed 1,000 yuan from me. I handed 10 banknotes to Mark beside the ATM. His expression showed a sense of relief, comfort, and a bit of embarrassment that hadn't faded away yet. I have to go to work now. I'm leaving. I'll pay you back as soon as possible. Mark turned and walked towards the school gate. I didn't ask him what he needed the money for. I knew that in our sophomore years, a car accident had left his father in the hospital bed ever since. My living expenses might be a bit of lighter saving money. In the 4 years of college, Mark was the one in the whole major who skipped the most classes. The teachers especially gave him the right to study independently and exempt from classes. He also passed all the exams and got his certificates. But on the day of the graduation photo, Mark didn't come. So Mark never had the chance to wear the bachelor's gown, smile in front of the camera, and celebrate the end of the best college years of his life. Maybe Mark was standing in front of the oil tank, wearing his half sleeves with the KFC logo, his face baked by the high temperature. The customers were in a hurry, and Mark was staring at the timer with a ding. Maybe Mark was standing in front of the oil tank, wearing his half sleeves with the KFC logo, his face baked by the high temperature. The customers were in a hurry, and Mark was staring at the timer with a ding. The Colonel's crispy chicken is ready. Mark seldom posts on Facebook moments. More than 3 years after graduation, the world has changed again and again. All kinds of things have happened around us, but Mark seldom posted on Facebook moments. Even if he did, most of them were reposts from the internet. I knew almost nothing about his life. Until a few days ago, his profile picture suddenly appeared on the icon of my Facebook moments. I clicked on it and saw a photo. The peach blossoms in mountains were in bloom. Mark was standing in the middle of the peach blossom bushes. On his right was a girl, ordinary looking, not very beautiful. On his left was a man in a wheelchair. They were all smiling. Mark was once the man who got up the earliest in our dormitory, sleeping only 5 hours a day. He was really amazing. Mark was also once the most hard-working man in our dormitory, working 9 our night shifts every day. He was really remarkable. Do I know if Mark is doing well now? I don't know. Is he still working at KFC? I didn't ask him either. I guess the person who asked this question wants to hear a story of an underdog's amazing comeback. The kind of story that makes you feel great after listening. The kind of story full of chicken soup inspiration that lingers for days. Mark isn't the hero of that kind of story. This is life. It can be very tough. This is you. You may be very ordinary, but when ordinary people like you and me encounter a lousy life, what can we do? Mark said, there must be a way. What is that way? Grit your teeth and hold on. I'm the man of the family, Mark said.